Across the rugged spine of Greece, where two seas almost touch yet remain painfully divided, there lies a narrow strip of land that haunted the imagination of kings and conquerors for nearly 2,000 years. Sailors feared the wild storms that battered the Peloponnese, merchants lost fortunes to the long detours around Cape Malea, and empires dreamed of a shortcut that could change the balance of power in the ancient world. And so began one of the longest obsessions in human history, the quest to carve a canal through the Corinthian Isthmus, a dream that countless civilizations tried to achieve and failed, a dream that demanded sweat, sacrifice, and the persistence of centuries. What began as a simple idea evolved into an engineering legend, a story of emperors who took up the challenge only to be defeated by the earth beneath their feet. This was the canal that took 1,900 years to build, a monument to ambition that refused to die. The story opens long before machines, explosives, or industrial tools existed, in a world where human strength and primitive instruments were the only things that could challenge nature. The ancient Greeks recognized the strategic genius of slicing through the isthmus, but their tools were too weak for the unforgiving rock. Instead, they created the diolkos, a stone-paved trackway where entire ships were dragged across land on wooden rollers, a back-breaking workaround that kept trade alive while the dream of a true canal slept beneath the surface. Generations came and went, each inheriting the same question. If the land was so narrow, why couldn't a canal be dug? Yet every attempt ended the same way: failure, abandonment, or catastrophe. As centuries passed, new rulers rose from the ashes of old kingdoms, each looking upon that same narrow line of earth with the same burning ambition. Romans surveyed it with the confidence of empire. Nero himself swung a golden pickaxe to inaugurate a project he believed would reshape the Mediterranean. Engineers studied, calculated, and dug with thousands of laborers, only to watch their efforts collapse under geological forces they could not tame. The soil shifted, the walls crumbled, and the canal became a grave for dreams far larger than the trenches themselves. And still the world did not give up. The Byzantines considered it, the Venetians revisited it, the Ottomans studied it, and modern Greece inherited the challenge as the industrial age dawned. Through these centuries of ambition and struggle, the Corinthian Isthmus remained silent, a stubborn barrier that seemed determined to resist human will. Yet with steam power, dynamite, and modern engineering, the final chapter of the story began. Engineers from across Europe converged on Greece, armed with the machinery their ancestors never had. The work was still brutal, still dangerous, still threatened by the same landslides and geological traps, but for the first time in history, humanity had the tools to fight back. And when the canal finally opened in 1893, it was more than a shortcut between two seas. It was a victory over a challenge that had lasted from the age of myth to the age of machines. This is the story of a dream that spanned civilizations, a project born in the ancient world and completed in the modern one, shaped by ambition, tragedy, and the relentless pursuit of possibility. The Corinth Canal is not just a waterway. It is the physical proof that even the most impossible dreams can outlive empires, cross centuries, and finally become real. Across the ancient Greek world, long before empires rose and fell, the narrow Isthmus of Corinth stood as both a blessing and a curse. It was the single fragile land bridge linking the Peloponnese to mainland Greece, a strip of earth so slender that a determined traveler could walk across it in less than an hour. And yet, to sailors, this short line of land represented weeks of danger, detours, and risk. For to avoid it, ships had to swing far south around the jagged Peloponnese, battling unpredictable storms and treacherous winds that struck without warning. Many captains whispered that the seas around Cape Malea were cursed. Even Homer described its waters as deadly. In such a world, the idea of slicing directly through the isthmus felt like a miracle waiting to happen, a shortcut that could change the economics, politics, and safety of all Greece. The first known ruler bold enough to imagine turning this miracle into reality was Periander, the tyrant of Corinth, in the 7th century BC. Periander was not merely a political leader. He was a strategist who recognized that geography was the foundation of power. Corinth controlled two seas, the Aegean to the east and the Ionian to the west, and Periander understood that he who controlled the flow of ships between them could dominate trade itself. To carve a canal through the isthmus would give Corinth an advantage no rival city-state could challenge. It would transform the city into a maritime hub linking the eastern Mediterranean with the west. For Periander, this was not just an engineering dream. It was a political weapon, but the tools of his age betrayed him. Ancient Greek engineers surveyed the land, studied the slopes, and measured the hardness of the limestone beneath the soil. What they found was disheartening. The terrain was too complex, the rock too stubborn, and the shallow seas on either side uneven in height. Their knowledge of hydrology was not advanced enough to calculate safe gradients, and their instruments were too weak to cut through the unforgiving geology. More troubling were the beliefs of priests and religious advisors. According to local oracles, cutting through the land risked offending Poseidon, who might punish those who dared, alter the natural boundaries of the sea. Superstition carried heavy weight in Greek society, and Periander was forced to abandon the project. Yet the desire did not die. Instead, the Greeks sought a compromise, a brilliant workaround that revealed their ingenuity even when faced with technological limits. They built the diolkos, a paved stone roadway stretching across the isthmus. Ships were hauled over it on wooden sledges and rollers, guided by teams of men and oxen, sliding across the ground like colossal wheeled beasts. This was not the elegant canal Periander had dreamed of, but it was remarkably effective. For centuries, merchants, soldiers, and envoys chose the diolkos over the deadly detour at sea. It became a lifeline of Greek commerce and a testament to the determination of a society that refused to surrender to nature. Still, the canal's shadow lingered. The Greeks never stopped imagining what it would mean if they could slice through those stubborn cliffs. Every generation retold the story of Periander's ambition, and every ruler who rose to power saw the same potential. The canal had become more than a strategic dream. It was a symbol of human daring, a challenge whispered across centuries. Though the ancient Greeks lacked the tools to make it reality, they planted the seed of an idea that future civilizations would inherit and attempt again and again. By the time Periander's vision faded into legend, the canal project had already taken root in the Mediterranean imagination. It would wait patiently for new rulers, stronger tools, and more confident empires. The dream slept beneath the soil of Corinth, silent but unforgotten, waiting for the next civilization bold enough to challenge the impossible. By the turn of the 1st century AD, the Mediterranean world had been reshaped by the power of Rome. Empires had grown, armies had marched across continents, and trade routes had expanded to unprecedented scales. Yet for all their military genius and engineering skill, the Romans still faced the same stubborn obstacle that had defeated Greek ingenuity centuries earlier, the narrow Isthmus of Corinth. Strategically, it was irresistible. A canal slicing through the land would save weeks of treacherous sailing, protect merchant ships from storms, and give any power that controlled it a decisive advantage in commerce and war. The dream that Periander had conceived centuries before now became a vision, pursued by emperors and strategists whose ambitions spanned the Mediterranean. Julius Caesar, before his assassination in 44 BC, is believed to have considered the canal as part of his grand strategy for Rome's dominance. He recognized that controlling Corinth meant controlling the flow of goods between East and West. Yet Caesar was assassinated before he could act, and the project, like Periander's dream before him, remained on the drawing board. His successors, however, were not so easily deterred. In the 1st century AD, the Roman Empire under Claudius and Nero became obsessed with the notion of conquering this stubborn strip of land. Surveys were conducted, plans drafted, and engineers were dispatched to assess the possibility of an artificial waterway that could rival the Nile in scale, if not grandeur. The Emperor Nero, infamous for his grandiose projects and volatile reign, decided to take direct action. In a ceremonial display of imperial ambition, he wielded a golden pickaxe to symbolically initiate the construction. Thousands of laborers were conscripted for the monumental task, many of them prisoners brought from distant lands. Among them, Jewish captives from campaigns in Judea were forced to dig trenches, haul earth, and attempt feats that no human labor alone could achieve. The project was monumental in scope. Hundreds of workers toiled in shifts, attempting to cut through limestone, remove tons of earth, and level a passage that had defeated generations before them. The canal, if completed, would have been a testament to Roman engineering supremacy, an object lesson in the might of the empire. But nature, as it had done to the Greeks, intervened with ruthless precision. The soil was unstable, rock layers shifted unpredictably, and heavy rainfall caused frequent flooding in the unfinished trenches. The Romans, with all their knowledge of aqueducts, roads, and bridges, were unable to tame the land. The slopes collapsed, the trenches filled with water, and the scale of the project proved impossible for even the empire's vast resources. Nero, distracted by political upheaval and increasingly erratic behavior, died in 68 AD before the canal could progress beyond initial attempts. His death marked yet another abandonment of the vision, leaving behind trenches and partially dug channels that would be remembered as both an attempt at brilliance and a lesson in hubris. Even after Nero, successive Roman leaders revisited the idea, commissioning surveys and studying past failures. Engineers analyzed gradients, attempted rudimentary canal locks, and calculated the best approach, but every plan faced the same immutable obstacles: geology, manpower limits, and the natural forces of erosion and landslides. The canal project became a legend within the empire, a recurring dream that promised strategic mastery but exacted a heavy cost in human labor and resources. Rome, for all its power, was forced to acknowledge that some ambitions required not just ingenuity and determination, but technology yet to come. By the end of the 1st century AD, the Corinth Canal had become a symbol of human aspiration and frustration. It demonstrated that even empires capable of spanning continents could falter when confronted with a problem that seemed deceptively simple yet demanded centuries of vision, persistence, and innovation. The Romans added their name to a growing list of civilizations that would attempt, fail, and pass the dream onward. In the sands and trenches of Corinth, the unfinished work of Nero stood as a testament to ambition defied by nature and a challenge that would remain alive for generations to come. After the fall of Rome, the Mediterranean entered an era of political upheaval and shifting powers, yet the narrow Isthmus of Corinth remained an enduring temptation for every ruler who understood its strategic value. The dream of a canal did not die with the empire. Instead, it passed like a torch through the hands of Byzantines, Venetians, and later Ottoman administrators. Each civilization approached the challenge with varying degrees of ambition, resources, and technological capability, yet all confronted the same relentless obstacles that had foiled Greeks and Romans centuries before. The canal's promise persisted, even as centuries of human history flowed around it. The Byzantine Empire, inheritors of Rome's engineering knowledge, considered cutting a canal across Corinth as part of their broader strategy to defend and consolidate control of Greece. Their engineers conducted surveys, measured gradients, and evaluated the feasibility of cutting a waterway with the tools and manpower available. Yet Byzantium faced far greater constraints than the Romans. Political instability, frequent invasions, and limited resources meant that even the most brilliant plans could not be executed. When engineers attempted preliminary excavations, they discovered the same problem that had plagued Nero's laborers. The limestone cliffs were treacherous, prone to collapse, and the soil layers inconsistent. Attempts were abandoned, leaving only minor trenches and sketches in manuscript form. The canal became a dream deferred, existing more as a blueprint of imagination than as a physical possibility. The Venetians, masters of the Mediterranean seas, revived the idea in the late Middle Ages. Their maritime empire depended on controlling trade routes, and Corinth offered the tantalizing prospect of bypassing the perilous southern detour. Venetian engineers approached the project with renewed ambition, applying techniques honed in naval shipyards and fortifications. They proposed designs involving locks, canals, and leveled earthworks intended to tame the stubborn rock. However, every proposal confronted the immutable challenge of geography. Landslides, unpredictable soil composition, and limited excavation technology rendered the plans impractical. Funds were scarce and political priorities shifted with the tides of war and diplomacy. The canal remained an unfulfilled dream, celebrated in maps and sketches but invisible in reality. When the Ottomans took control of the region in the 5th, 10th, and 16th centuries, the strategic importance of Corinth had not diminished. They surveyed the isthmus, recognizing the military advantage a canal could provide for moving naval fleets swiftly between the Aegean and Ionian Seas. Some ambitious Ottoman governors even proposed large-scale engineering projects, employing armies of laborers to cut channels and stabilize the cliffs. Yet the same constraints persisted: lack of advanced machinery, the overwhelming difficulty of the rock and soil, and the constant threat of natural disasters. Earthquakes, a frequent occurrence in the region, and landslides repeatedly thwarted any tangible progress. The canal remained an abstract concept, a dream pursued intermittently across decades but never realized. Through these centuries, the Corinth Canal transformed from a technical problem into a symbol of enduring human ambition. It connected civilizations across time. The Byzantines preserved Roman knowledge. Venetians combined trade expertise with maritime engineering, and Ottomans carried forward the same vision, all while the land itself remained indifferent to human desire. Each attempt added to a growing repository of knowledge, measurements, surveys, and observations that would eventually inform the engineers of the modern era. The canal story was no longer just about digging through rock. It became a narrative of persistence, failure, and hope, a bridge between antiquity and the industrial age. By the end of the medieval period, the canal had become a legend, whispered among rulers and engineers alike. It was a monument that existed more in imagination than in stone, a challenge that tested human ingenuity across centuries. Yet even as empires rose and fell around it, the Corinthian Isthmus endured, steadfast and immovable, waiting for the technological revolution that would finally allow humanity to conquer what nature had so long defended. The dream had survived, passing from hand to hand until the age of steam, explosives, and modern machinery would give it the chance to become reality. By the 19th century, the dream of a canal cutting through the Corinthian Isthmus had endured nearly 2 millennia. Civilizations had tried and failed, leaving behind a trail of surveys, sketches, trenches, and legends. Yet the Industrial Revolution had changed everything. Steam engines, explosives, and advanced surveying techniques now offered tools that ancient Greeks, Romans, Byzantines, and Ottomans could never have imagined. For the first time in history, humanity had the technology to confront the stubborn limestone cliffs and unstable soil of Corinth directly, turning centuries of frustration into a tangible possibility. The Corinth Canal, once a distant dream, was finally within reach. The project began in earnest in the late 19th century under the newly independent Greek state, which saw the canal not just as an engineering challenge but as a symbol of national pride and modernization. Greek authorities invited engineers from across Europe, including France, Austria, and Germany, to contribute expertise to this ambitious undertaking. Surveys were conducted with scientific precision, mapping gradients, soil composition, and potential flood hazards. Modern explosives could break through rock in ways that ancient picks and chisels never could, and steam-powered dredgers could move earth at speeds unimaginable in previous centuries. For the first time, the combination of knowledge, manpower, and machinery created the possibility of success where centuries of effort had failed. Despite these advantages, the work was far from easy. The Corinthian Isthmus remained a formidable obstacle, its limestone cliffs prone to collapse, its slopes unstable, and its soil a treacherous mix of rock and clay. Landslides were a constant threat, and unexpected flooding could fill trenches within hours. Laborers faced grueling conditions, working in shifts under the scorching Mediterranean sun while navigating dangerous machinery and unstable terrain. Accidents were common, and each collapse or setback reminded the engineers that, even in the industrial age, nature had not surrendered its dominion. Financial constraints added another layer of complexity. The canal was a massive undertaking, requiring significant investment in labor, machinery, and materials. Greek authorities had to negotiate funding, navigate political rivalries, and manage public expectations. Construction delays, combined with the immense cost, led some to question whether the centuries-long dream was worth pursuing. Yet determination prevailed. Engineers refined their techniques, learning from each setback. They built retaining walls to stabilize cliffs, used explosives with precision to break rock, and coordinated the movement of dredgers and labor teams with meticulous planning. Gradually, the trench began to take shape, a deep scar carved through centuries of history. By the 1880s, the work had gained momentum, and optimism spread among the engineers and the public alike. What had once seemed impossible, a canal cutting through the same land that had thwarted Nero, the Venetians, and countless others, was slowly becoming reality. Each meter excavated was a triumph over history itself, proof that the ingenuity of the modern age could overcome obstacles that had once been insurmountable. Engineers and laborers alike understood that they were part of a story far larger than themselves, a tale that stretched back nearly 2,000 years. When the Corinth Canal finally opened in 1893, it was more than an engineering achievement. It was the culmination of nearly 2 millennia of human ambition, innovation, and persistence. The canal, though narrow and challenging to navigate, fulfilled a dream first imagined by Periander and pursued by countless rulers and civilizations. It stood as a testament to the transformative power of technology and the unwavering human desire to conquer what nature has long defended. For the first time, Corinth's waters connected east to west, fulfilling a vision that had spanned the ages. The narrow channel, 6 kilometers long and carved through stubborn limestone, connected the Aegean Sea to the Ionian Sea, offering a shortcut that could save ships from the perilous journey around the southern Peloponnese. For Greece, it was a monumental achievement, a symbol of national pride, engineering ingenuity, and the persistence of generations. The completion of the canal was a triumph of modern engineering, combining human labor with the innovations of the industrial age. Steam-powered dredgers, dynamite, and carefully calculated excavation plans allowed engineers to overcome the very obstacles that had thwarted the ancients. Retaining walls stabilized cliffs prone to collapse. Drainage systems managed flooding, and precision planning guided thousands of laborers working under grueling conditions. Each meter of progress represented not just physical achievement, but the cumulative knowledge of nearly 2 millennia. The canal, though narrow and treacherous for larger ships, was a testament to the human determination to challenge nature and succeed where history had repeatedly failed. The inauguration of the Corinth Canal was both ceremonial and symbolic. Greek authorities organized a series of celebrations attended by engineers, government officials, and spectators from across Europe. Flags fluttered in the Mediterranean wind, and ships sailed through the channel for the first time, a demonstration of the link between East and West finally realized. For the people of Greece, it was a moment of national pride, a statement to the world that their country could harness modern technology to complete a vision that had eluded the most powerful rulers of the ancient and medieval worlds. The canal, in a way, was a bridge across history, connecting the ambitions of past empires to the achievements of the modern era. Despite its completion, the canal was not without limitations. Its narrow width, just over 24 meters in some places, restricted the size of vessels that could pass safely. Large cargo ships and naval vessels, which had become increasingly important in the early 20th century, could not use the canal, limiting its commercial significance. Still, for smaller ships, tourist vessels, and strategic military movements, it remained invaluable. The canal also held cultural and historical significance beyond its practical use. It became a site where travelers could witness the layers of history embedded in the land, from the diolkos of ancient Greece to Nero's abandoned trenches, from Venetian sketches to Ottoman surveys. Each stone and cliff along the canal told a story, a reminder of the countless hands that had tried, failed, and paved the way for modern success. The Corinth Canal was, in essence, the realization of a dream that spanned generations, an achievement that honored both the ambition of the ancients and the technological progress of the industrial age. In the years following its completion, the canal continued to captivate engineers, historians, and tourists alike. It stood as a testament to human persistence, the culmination of nearly 2 millennia of effort, and proof that even the most stubborn natural obstacles could eventually be overcome. The Corinth Canal is more than just a shortcut between 2 seas. It is a monument to the endurance of ambition, a reminder that no dream is too long, no obstacle too great, for those willing to persevere across centuries. In its narrow waters, one can trace the vision of Periander, the determination of Nero, and the triumph of modern engineering, all flowing together in a channel carved by history itself. Though the Corinth Canal had been completed in 1893, the story of human ambition and struggle against nature did not end with its opening. Over the decades, the canal faced new challenges that tested the ingenuity of engineers in a modern era. Landslides, rockfalls, and erosion continued to threaten its stability, reminding all who used it that even in the age of advanced technology, the narrow strip of land through which it ran remained unpredictable and dangerous. What had once been a dream-spanning empires now required constant vigilance, maintenance, and adaptation to preserve the achievement of nearly 2 millennia of human effort. The early decades of the 20th century saw the canal, serving both commercial and strategic purposes. Smaller cargo ships, passenger vessels, and naval patrols navigated its narrow waters, benefiting from the shortcut between the Aegean and Ionian Seas. Yet the canal's narrow width, averaging just 24 meters, limited its utility for larger modern ships, which increasingly dominated international trade. Despite this limitation, it remained a vital passage for smaller maritime traffic and a symbol of Greek ingenuity and perseverance. Engineers continued to study the canal's geology, developing methods to reinforce the cliffs and prevent erosion, applying lessons learned from both the past and contemporary engineering practices. By the mid-20th century, tourism began to transform the canal from a purely functional waterway into a cultural and historical landmark. Visitors arrived to marvel at the narrow channel, to sail its waters, and to reflect on the centuries of human ambition that had brought it into existence. Interpretive signage, museums, and guided tours highlighted the story of the canal, connecting the work of Periander, Nero, the Venetians, and modern engineers in a continuous narrative of persistence. Despite these efforts, the canal remained vulnerable to natural forces. Earthquakes, common in the region, occasionally destabilized the cliffs, while heavy rains caused erosion that threatened both the channel and its retaining walls. Landslides forced temporary closures, sometimes for months, highlighting the ongoing challenge of maintaining a structure carved through geology that had defied generations of humans. Modern engineers developed stabilization techniques, including reinforced retaining walls, drainage systems, and controlled rock removal, but the canal required constant monitoring. It became clear that completing the canal was only the beginning. Preserving it was a task in itself, demanding vigilance and adaptability. In recent decades, debates have arisen about whether the canal should be widened or reinforced further to accommodate larger vessels, or whether it should be preserved primarily as a historical monument. Expanding the canal presents enormous technical and environmental challenges, while preserving it in its original form honors the centuries of human effort that culminated in its creation. Today, it serves both purposes: a functional waterway for small ships and a tourist attraction celebrating human perseverance across nearly 2,000 years. The Corinth Canal stands as a testament to the enduring spirit of human innovation. It reminds us that even the most persistent obstacles can be confronted, though never without risk, adaptation, and respect for the forces of nature. From ancient Greek visionaries to modern engineers, generations of humans have labored to realize a dream that spanned empires, centuries, and technological revolutions. The canal is more than a passage through land. It is a monument to persistence, a physical reminder that ambition can survive across millennia, shaping not only the geography of the world, but the imagination and determination of every generation that dares to dream. As the waters of the Corinth Canal ripple quietly between the Aegean and Ionian Seas, it is easy to forget the centuries of ambition, failure, and triumph that carved this narrow path through the earth. What we see today, a channel just 6 kilometers long, narrow, and precise, is the culmination of nearly 2,000 years of human imagination, persistence, and ingenuity. From the vision of Periander in the 7th century BC to the industrial engineers of the 19th century, generations have gazed upon this strip of land and dared to challenge its natural stubbornness. The canal, in all its modest dimensions, stands as proof that no dream, however long or difficult, can truly be buried by time or circumstance. The story of the Corinth Canal is a story of continuity across centuries, a bridge linking the past and present through human endeavor. Each failed attempt was not a defeat but a lesson, each trench abandoned by ancient laborers a foundation for future knowledge. The Greeks first imagined the possibility and built the diolkos, a labor-intensive workaround that inspired awe for their ingenuity. Romans like Nero sought to assert imperial dominance through force and numbers, only to be humbled by geology and circumstance. Byzantines, Venetians, and Ottomans each studied, sketched, and attempted construction, adding layers of understanding to a puzzle no single generation could solve. And finally, the modern engineers of the 19th century harnessed steam, explosives, and precision planning to turn the impossible into reality. Yet even in completion, the canal reminds us that human triumph is never absolute. Nature continues to assert itself through landslides, erosion, and the occasional earthquake. Ships must navigate carefully, and engineers remain vigilant, preserving the canal for the generations to come. It is a structure that demands respect as much as it rewards admiration, a living testament to the delicate balance between ambition and the forces of the natural world. In its narrow waters, we see both the persistence of humanity and the enduring power of the earth it seeks to shape. The Corinth Canal is more than a functional waterway. It is a monument to human perseverance. It embodies the curiosity, determination, and audacity that drive civilizations to dream beyond their limitations. It teaches us that vision without action is mere imagination, but action across generations can transform imagination into enduring reality. Each stone, each meter excavated, each reinforced cliff is a tribute to those who refused to surrender to failure, to those who believed in the promise of a shortcut that could change trade, strategy, and connectivity in the Mediterranean world. As we reflect on nearly 2 millennia of ambition, one truth emerges: human persistence knows no temporal boundary. The canal reminds us that our ancestors, whether rulers, engineers, or laborers, were not merely dreamers. They were participants in a continuous journey toward progress, a journey that transcended empires, technologies, and centuries. It is a story that links the past to the present, inviting us to honor the courage, ingenuity, and resilience that made this achievement possible. The Corinth Canal teaches us that some dreams are so vast, so enduring, that they must wait centuries to be realized, yet when they are, they shine as monuments to the unbroken human spirit. In its quiet, flowing waters today, the Corinth Canal holds more than ships. It holds history, ambition, and the essence of persistence itself. It reminds us that the impossible is not permanent, that failure is a step along the path to success, and that time, for all its weight, cannot extinguish the vision of those who dare to dream. Standing before it, one can trace the efforts of Periander, Nero, Venetian engineers, Ottoman planners, and modern innovators, all converging in a channel that unites the seas and unites human history itself. The canal is not just a passage through land. It is a passage through time, a monument to determination, and a symbol that even the longest dreams can at last become reality.